Previously on FOX's The Running Shank.
We grow our own food, we build our own shelter. Whatever we need. What's out there?
I don't know. I just know what I'm told. I'm not supposed to leave.
Oh, get the hell off me!
He's been stung.
It's called the changing. It's what happens when someone gets stung. Infection is spreading. He's dangerous.
It's the maze. All of it. If there was a way out, we would have found it by now.
Luke, what do you see?
She's the last one ever.
Get them out!
We call it the flare. A deadly virus that attacks the brain.
You can't leave.
Thomas?
It's time now to begin phase 2.
Look at the time now. Got a good book, pop in the DVD, sit back and enjoy the super awesome media. How's it going, bookworms, filmsters? I'm Katana. Welcome back to another Shuckin BVM. That's right, Shuckin. It's that time again to dip back into another popular YA series, The Maze Runner, also known to me as the biggest sausage fest series I have ever reviewed. I mean, you got a maze, you got wild boys living on their own, and you got that made-up language Dastner loves shoving down your throat even if you say no. Klunk, Slinthead, Shank. Oh man, good times. Good that. Well, you people have been wanting this for months now, and I'm finally giving. Let's jump back into this wicked world of Dastner's with a sequel, The Scorch Trials. If you weren't paying attention to the opening, the last time we seen our heroes was when they solved the mystery of the maze, only to be roped back into something more dangerous. They were rescued, but by the end of that first night, they might have been better off on their own. Thomas and Teresa's mind transmission is disconnected, and she's replaced with some guy named Eris, along with the misfortune of the rescuers hanging themselves and being surrounded by these infected citizens called Cranks. They're trapped until a well-suited man they start calling Rat Man gives the Gliders their next mission. 2 weeks in the scorching desert, walking 100 miles north to reach a safe haven, with the reward being a cure for the flare disease they all carry within themselves, as Ratman describes. With so much at stake and the mystery ever growing, Thomas and his friends are dragged into another one of Wicked's tests and overcoming new dangers to save their own skin. As if these boys didn't have enough to drive them, and the big motivation here being is that they don't go shucking crazy. Literally. And as far as characters go, I have to say, they seem less developed than the first book. This is a problem, but I don't care, because coming back to the series again reminded me that I did not enjoy these characters to begin with. And I'm sorry if that disappoints anyone, but it's true, they're just not written well. Thomas is still our protagonist, who somehow became a hypersomniac between book 1 and 2. About every couple of chapters he'll either be sleeping or passed out, and the disjointed dream sequences he will have at times are vague enough to further confuse your unanswered thoughts about Wicked. As for the other Gladers, no, that's it. They're just Gladers, so one-dimensional that it's much easier to clump him as one. Miho is still the brute and strong one, Newt is the rational mild one, Frypan's a Glader, Winston's a Glader. You'd be damn lucky to even get a name, otherwise you're just a casualty for the high-rise in action. And if it gets to the point where even your main character is thinking how meaningless the other people are, clearly you've done something wrong. Teresa's not even a character anymore. Somewhere in her disappearance from the story, she became a total setup. Eris is Teresa's replacement, as in they put him with all the other Gladers. His character is nothing much to boast about, but his history is definitely interesting as it opens up his experience so similar to what the Gladers went through in the first book. All with the exception that he was the only boy in a group of girl Gladers. In another universe, he was that group's Teresa. And then we got Cranks. There are different levels to their sanity, and we only got to worry about two. Jorge, It's a stereotype because, as if his name and description couldn't be more clear of his heritage, Dashner forces some Spanish phrases at the end of this man's sentences to make the point across. Guys, I don't think you may have noticed, but I'm Hispanic. And thanks to Dashner, I think I've been Hispanicing all wrong. I mean, I can't even imagine the confusion I must have put you all through. But maybe saying some common Spanish words will help you amigos that I am brown and proud. And finally we have Brenda. Brenda, less as a character, more like a homeless Barbie. Brenda. I am not even exaggerating. The second you see her kiss Thomas on the cheek, you're automatically thinking triangle. There's no foreshadowing, no hint. She basically says let's make snoo together and is forced on Thomas like peanut butter and mother shuckin jelly. Again, this isn't anything new. Apparently Dashner thinks all boys are the same. All wisecracking, all rowdy, so similar that it's hard to tell them apart other than their basic accents and racial features. That's why I like Chuck so much. He was so different from the rest that it was just right to call him his own person. But then I thought to myself, Katana, don't be a dick. I mean, we still have the sequel. You gotta look forward to the sequel. There are always new characters in the sequel. You never know who might surprise you. Just give it a chance. So we gave it a chance, and now we have a compadre and homewrecker to worry about. Deep breaths, deep breaths. All right. All right, let's focus on some of the great things this book actually offered. Like the last book, some of the encounters were funnish when they were going through the flat trance and fighting off solidifying liquid in the dark, suffocating them without warning. That was cool. Or how about those violent thunderstorms they find through the desert with the power to strike them on fire? What intensity! But my biggest highlight while reading this was the expansion on these wicked experiments. The explanation from Ratman gave some satisfying clarity that this is all leading up to something huge, and I'm excited for it. Eris and his Group B being eerily identical to the Glader's dilemma, the labels each Glader got stamped on their necks, the fact that they keep saying this is all for the greater good, whatever this experiment is leading up to, I was hyped. Genuinely hyped. And there you go. Two things that were great. Don't say I wasn't generous. The toxic combination of repetition with telling and not showing comes back with a vengeance. I could deal with the repetition, it's reasonable. Thomas still can't recover his past memories, so he's only working with what he's got from the last book. I just think there should be a limit as to how much of that past is brought up. You thought getting over Chuck was hard? Well, be prepared to be reminded over and over about how sad that was, along with plot points. I promise you won't forget them even if you tried. The telling not showing aspect I can say with certainty is going overboard. Dashner, who do you think you are telling me how to feel? Controlling my imagination to the point where you just explicitly point out how sad or mad they are. If I couldn't understand their emotions just by the dialogue or behavior alone, that's a problem. Well, two. The other is that there's no range for these emotions. What I mean is that you can understand someone getting annoyed if they got a chicken sandwich instead of a cheeseburger, or being angry if their roommate didn't clean the dishes for the 15th time, or pissed if their girlfriend was sleeping with said roommate. However, with this book, there's no degree. Thomas will be boiling with rage or emotionally scarred from the inside, no matter the situation, big or small. His feelings, and occasionally the others, are always unnecessarily extreme, which makes it harder to pinpoint a personality. What makes him really tick? When is he truly happy? And there's also an issue with the naturality of things. Something never clicked well with me whenever these characters talked. Not just the made up language, but also sentences that seem lazy and cliche and have been said a million times. And again, the narrative flow. The drama between Thomas choosing either Brenda or Teresa is not a natural or slow introduction, it just hits you, coming out of nowhere and letting you see how forced it is. And there's unpredictability, but in the worst way possible. Usually a story will let you learn about enemies or threats to let you familiarize with them and give a heads up that this might be a problem in the future. But this book has moments that feel like some events were being made up on the go. The best example I could give is at the ending. I mean, in the first book, it was made clear that the main threat were grievers. In this book, it was made out to be Crank, seeing them at their best, seeing them at their worst, talking big game about how dangerous they were once they were fully gone. So when we reach the end, I thought that the final fight was going to be with maybe a horde of cranks coming after them or super mega cranks coming out of those pods. And what happens? Blob-like monsters with knives for hands. And it's just like, where the flying shuck did that come from? Was I expecting it? No. Was I amazed? God no. All it did was ask me more questions that will probably never be explained. And if I could be real honest here, nothing really happens in this book. The beginning was okay, and the first few chapters walking through the desert, but once they get to the city, the story starts falling flat and feeling like filler. The forced romance between Thomas and Brenda, the crank party that seemed short-lived, even the ending was a letdown, seeing as there wasn't much closure to their final destination. But the bigger letdown is when you compare the plot from book 1 to book 2. Alright, so for the first task, we're going to erase your memories, drop you in our version of Farmer Simulator 20XX, and measure how long it will take you to figure out the mystery of the maze with killer gooey spider creatures roaming inside. Just walk 100 miles that way. With the first review, I didn't go much into detail about the telepathy because I thought it was stupid and unnecessary and totally out of place. But with the Scorch Trials, I'm a little half and half on it. There's a good side because it raised my curiosity once realizing that Eris also has the power to communicate with Thomas when they first meet. I guess it was the introduction of another group with similar conditions that really forced my hand to believe this is all going to tie in well. But on my other hand, the telepathy ruins good moments of tension and suspense. Prime example, Teresa mind-jumping Thomas and warning him that something bad would happen the next day. The scene itself happens and it's pretty damn convincing. Too bad I was warned beforehand that something bad was going to happen. I understand where Dastner was coming from doing this, but I can't deny that scene would have had a much better effect if there was no warning. But what aggravated me the most, and I think I brought it up so many times by now, are all these unanswered questions. You would think that book 2 will be able to clarify some things from book 1 and what the shuck that was all about, but nope. You just sit on your hands letting Mr. Ratburn or whatever the shuck give you another adventure. So you say, okay, what's the harm? You follow these kids again, get more mysterious klunk to worry about, praying to a high powering griever that you might see him by the end and be rewarded with a few more answers. Nada. More unanswered questions piled on your previous unanswered questions. The dreams that Thomas has been having, their labels for this trial, how the telepathic users went from 3 to 4. You learned so much again, but nothing is given. For shuck's sake, Dastner, you could have thrown some clues or answers for us to chew on, but instead leave us hanging with this empty cliffhanger leading to the next book. And that's another thing. I heard from so many reviewers, both from Goodreads and YouTube, that the Death Cure somehow makes the Scorch Trials the best damn book in the universe. And I can't deny that. I haven't read it yet. But let me just tell you this. Would the Death Cure explain why the first 2 encounters were the only fun parts and the rest of the story fell apart? Would the Death Cure justify why Thomas is constantly thinking about the past and pondering every question 50 times? You can control the story and plot all you want, but the writing style speaks for itself. With The Maze Runner, I didn't enjoy reading it, but I pushed through because the mystery of the maze and its resolution piqued my interest. Terrible writing, but with an intriguing plot. This book still has terrible writing, but no intriguing plot. It's simply moving from point A to point B with little excitement in between. I'm not doubting the Death Cure. I swear book 3 better start with Thomas kicking down some doors and demanding answers, because my patience is running thin. As for this book, and just this book alone, it's lucky I'm too damn stubborn to give up. I came all this way for answers. I'm not stopping now. And that's my final take on the book, which only leaves us the movie to discuss now. And it's pretty sad seeing that it got such a bad rep. I mean, the first one was great, so even if it goes against what everyone says, I still have hope for this movie. At least better than what I just read. So sit back and relax as we start to dissect the film adaptation to the Scorch Trials. So the movie begins inside the I Am Legend universe from Sam's point of view, as Kid Thomas is being given up by his mother to do greater things with stone cold military buffs and Ava Page. The bus falls sideways, bringing us to an adult Dylan O'Brien, who's remembering he's actually signed for 3 of these and is coming to terms with the sequel. I know how you feel, man. I know it sucks. I gone through the waves myself. Your pain is relatable, but you gotta pull through. Through the bright light, Thomas is woken by Minho as they have to evacuate from the heli that rescued them from the end of the first movie. They're sprinting away from the mindless Cranks and enter a wicked facility. They are then greeted by Littlefinger.
Who are you? I'm the reason you're all still alive.
He's evil. He's so evil. You cannot cast a guy like Aidan Gillen and expect him to bake cookies. Unless they were poisoned. His name is Jansen, who goes on to explain this place is some station and that there's a refugee camp called the Right Arm out in the Scorch. And the big difference here is how there's no indication that the Gliders are infected like in the book. I could already sense that this is going to bite them in the ass when Death Cure rolls around, but considering nothing was further explained in the book about what makes these infected kids better than the rest, evens out the neglection with confusion. Anyway, Jansen does his damnness to make them feel at home, giving them showers, buffing them up with lots of vitamins and medical checkups, until Thomas is taken to interrogation for a one-on-one with Jansen, asking for any info on Wicked. But if I don't even know, how the hell is Thomas gonna know?
Interesting. You say you work for Wicked, but they sent you into the maze. Why would they do something like that?
You tell me. Please. Please, someone tell me. Tell me something. Someone tell me something. Dashner's being stingy with the clues again. Seeing that information pass the test allows Thomas to reunite with his friends in some high school cafeteria. And the book only mentions one other group, so why is the senior class of Wicked High crowded here? Oh, this must be what people are talking about the Death Cure seeping into the movie. Thomas starts chatting with other groups about their experience, even learning about loner boy Eris there and his time with a group of girls. Lucky son of a bitch. Jansen hogs the screen once again to roll call some kids and bring them beyond the door that promises a better life. All I want to know is if that Swiggy kid is going to be in book 3. That name alone carries a story. Those teens are taken away and Thomas spots Teresa going that same way. He tries to reach her but is stopped, and the scene cuts to the boys escorted to their own personal room.
No, if there's one thing I know about that girl, she can take care of herself. Don't worry about it.
Well, look at that. Happy faces, a sense of security. They're gonna die here, aren't they? Well, I'll thank the movie for this. Thomas is actually having trouble sleeping, which works in his favor to hear Eris crawling in the vents. Eris takes him to see some shady clunk going on with Dr. Crawford, raising suspicions that something's not right with this place. Next lunchtime, Thomas is telling the boys about the vent escapade and wants to dive deeper down the rabbit hole, so he instinctively picks a second fight with the guard and swipes a key card. But Newt's reasoning justifies his stance on the matter.
They gave us new clothes, they gave us food, they gave us a proper bed. Some of us haven't had that in a long time. Some of us a lot longer than others.
So Thomas ends up going with just Eris to search for answers. And yes, this may not have happened in the book, but do you feel that? You feel that? That satisfying feeling that this is building up to something, and more importantly, soon? And I also appreciate the fact that these rescuers from the book got more attention because they were hung and gone the very next day. But then again, what the shuck is going on here?
Teresa? It's Rachel.
Wait a minute. The book said that Rachel was dead. So, if this is supposedly following book 3, my boy Chuck's got a chance! Yes! Thomas and Eris hide as Jansen strolls into the room talking with Ava Page and revealing his evilness for the world to see. I'm actually amazed at how someone can hold a secret conversation like this and still come off as vague and cryptic.
I want all the remaining subjects sedated and prepped for harvest by the time I arrive.
The assets are secure.
Have you found the right arm?
Not yet.
Is this all some kind of psychotic thrill for Dashner? The fact that he's keeping all of us in the loop for this grand reveal? Or at least until he figures out how to piece all this together. This conversation ends with Jansen targeting the newcomers for whatever Ava needs done, and Thomas crawls back to warn them. He ties up the door handle and blocks the entrance with a bed, giving them time to escape the capture. The boys are now trying to find a way out, with Eris and Winston splitting up to handle Deo X business and the rest looking for an exit. They run to Dr. Crawford and take her hostage to find Teresa. Fighting through guards with heavy stun guns, they find Teresa being tested by other scientists and save her. Now this This is what the movies are all about. Intense moments, going against the odds, maze runners running. It's all good until they reach a sealed door with Jansen closing in. Thomas tries holding him off until Ayers and Winston open the door from the other side and Thomas starts running. But I'm confused why the guards are just watching him go. We already saw that these guns aren't lethal, they're just like automatic stun guns. You're only proving that his character is a real Gary Sue. Thomas pulls off an indie trick, shows Littlefinger his big finger, and escapes with his friends.
Come on!
Admit it, a perfect place for the title. As a matter of fact, this calls for a break. I mean, the movie's just about to start, alright? We'll be right back after break. Alright. Well, we're back. And after that 20 minutes short of the death cure, we can finally start our movie now. Let's begin. Running through desert winds, the gliders get far enough to hide out in a buried building. And after telling Teresa, who shouldn't even be there, why exactly they had to run, it's time for a plan.
Okay. So what's the plan? You do have a plan, right?
Yeah.
Well, we followed you out here, Thomas, and now you're saying that you have no idea where we're going or what we're doing.
I guess the same could be said for the entire outline of this book. Eris remembers Jansen talking about the right arm resistance in the mountains, and that becomes their motive for the journey, which isn't that different from finding the book's safe haven. This movie also substitutes the flat trance scene with this horror show. Think about it. Both scenes had the gliders enter a dark and unfamiliar place with a threat lurking in the shadows. The book's solidifying liquid achieves tension, but the movie achieves that and some characterizing moments that are likable.
All those kids that we left behind back there. I don't want to end up like that.
What?
After snooping around his abandoned camp, Minho finds a way to brighten the rooms, awakening the Crank from slumber. Then another. And eventually a whole bunch are riled up. Thomas and Minho return to the group and start chasing from these discount walkers, which I'm not complaining. I can see why people are upset about the majority of this movie utilizing full-on cranks, but it matches the tone that they were going for. But to be fair, it would have been nice seeing the scene where they actually meet the delusional Crank shouting, "Rose got my nose, I suppose," and that triggering the chase scene. Both has a good setup and a nod to the source material. Down the narrow pathway, they are again stopped by a door. My god, it seems like the real enemy here is a closed off gateway. Winston guards while the gliders are getting the door open, and they do, but at the expense of Winston getting his stomach clawed at. They run far enough to hide until the next morning, and I think they actually ran all night to reach the city. Keeping a good eye out for Wicked, they continue to escalate through the rubbish. Arabian Shanks and Arabian Cranks, these gliders are hot, but Winston is not, he's totally dead. Through scorching sands and brutal winds, the gliders refuse to stand down and find shelter for their boy. Thomas and Teresa take the time to talk, with Teresa actually thinking about going back to the teen harvesters. But before Thomas could clarify that response, a gun is shot, and they run back to Winston almost shooting himself. The disease has cracked his body far beyond repair. He doesn't want to go on like this. Witnessing Winston's infection, the group starts to realize that they aren't that safe from being infected themselves, and they walk a few more miles before sleeping on the ground, and Thomas waking up to lightning storms approaching. You see, something's made from the book, and it didn't need a needless sacrifice to prove how dangerous it was. Just a near-death one. Minho is a crowd favorite, so you know they ain't killing him off that easily. And then they start hold on a second. I don't know why, but I'm just noticing now that this movie franchise really takes advantage of the title Maze Runner. Seriously, how many glorified shots were taken to Thomas running? Like 5 already? Jesus. After seeing Minho okay, the gliders run into another pond with the chain Cranks. This is where Brenda comes in, already looking like a cool, badass lady. She leads them all the way to meet with Gus Fring!
You ever get the feeling the whole world's against you?
It's like the AMC HBO crossover I never thought I wanted. He plays a man named Jorge, who's not one for chit chat. It's actually refreshing to see him in another role. He asks a few questions, and after learning that they're tagged by Wicked, keeps them.
I'm sorry, hermano. Looks like you're tagged. Which means you're very valuable.
The hermano thing. Not as frequent or annoying when it comes from the spokesperson for Pollos Hermanos. Next scene, Thomas and friends are hanging over a terrifying drop before Jorge comes back asking for more questions about the right arm. And boy, did they cast the right guy for intimidation.
Tell me what you know about the right arm. You tell me what you know, and maybe we can make a deal.
We don't know much. Okay. They're hiding in the mountains. And they attacked Wicked. They got out a bunch of kids. That's it. That's all we know.
But I will admit that this group's presence is all too confusing. They don't specify who they are or what they want. In the book, they were a group of cranks who still had a mind and were in the same boat with the Gladiators about reaching the destination for a cure. Here, Jorge wants to meet the right arm for reasons unknown. You know what? I shouldn't be surprised. I mean, ambiguity is this series' strong suit. So, as the Gladiators swing their way from captivity, Wicked soldiers come in and infiltrate the base. Jensen is commanding from the chopper, and one of the soldiers finds the freed Gladiators. Thomas tries to fight him off, but lets Brenda have the final blow.
Come on, let's go!
Barkley, what's your location? Barkley, are you there?
That look. I know that look. That's the look of a betrayer. Jorge plays the Ballad of Death as Brenda brings everyone together, then without hesitation opens a zipline for all of them to escape on. Thomas stays behind to make sure Brenda goes along, but the two are blocked by soldiers. They have no choice but to run away, at least until the song is finished. Now that was awesome. I mean, it was kind of a Walter White plan, but still in the creative mind of Breaking Bad. The building begins to collapse on itself, and Thomas and Brenda end up underground together. And thank God Brenda takes a moment to clear things up, because I don't know how much free space I have left in my mind to hoard these unanswered questions.
Why are you helping us?
Jorge seems to think you guys are a ticket to the safe haven.
The what?
Safe from the sun, free of infection.
And you know where that is?
No. If Jorge made it out, that's where he'll be taking your friends.
If he made it out.
You know what? You ask a lot of questions.
Yeah, he does, because no one else is answering a goddamn one. Also, this time alone is given to establish their relationship, which is way better than the book. It's natural, everyone's acting normal, no hormones raging, just two people passing the time and getting to know each other. Plus, we jump back into that horror aspect the movie's got a good grasp on, but instead of The Walking Dead, it's like I'm watching a cutscene from The Last of Us. I don't know, this fungus infestation is more up their alley. Also, why did they change the CGI? The practical effects were looking way better. Is it because people refuse to look like plants? Just tape a stick on your head like Max and you'll be fine. Thomas and Brenda make it out of the sewers and start scaling the city with cranks on their tail. They keep going until Brenda falls through a sideways door and ends up in a thin ice situation. A crank joins the party but is immediately wasted. Afterwards, they reach surface level again, noticing that Brenda has been bitten. They start walking through the town into some marketplace area before reaching another familiar scene from the book, the party. There was no specific name for this at all. It was just the party. So, as you expect, the greasy-haired man drugs them with a drink and tosses them into the faded crowd. And they're pretty gone, if you know what I mean.
Brenda?
Just try and relax. Let go.
How?
Like this.
Why? That didn't need to exist! How much time did they spend together? 2 moments they shared together in this entire movie, and does that warrant for a kiss? God, the fact that they actually tried to force the romance with even less chemistry than the book actually pisses me off. Well, that happens, Brenda's rejected, and Thomas is alone on a wild trip seeing shit-faced friends, party grievers, and another soul-clenching question: are they or aren't they? Actually, the bigger question is, again, pertaining to this mother-shucking, confusing, klunk-ass plot!
Whatever they tell you about me, whatever they say, I just need you to know I had to do it, okay?
What did you do?
I couldn't keep watching them die.
Alright, listen, right now I got a jar full of quarters and coins. I can give you all this if you just give me one answer. Thomas wakes up with Teresa by his side, along with the Gladers and Jorge, who's interrogating the host Marcus for information on the right arm. And after talking about what he does with the drug party goers, he's so lucky Jorge doesn't have a box cutter. Otherwise, this would have been a very different tactic. Jorge gets his information and adds salt to the wound by taking Marcus's car, far enough until they reach a roadblock. They examine the cars before being sniped from a distance, and Jorge tries to create a diversion with a bomb he brought. But before it could be used, they are quickly ambushed by girls.
Eris?
Oh my god, Harriet?
What the hell are you doing here?
Sonya.
Eris, you're lucky we didn't shoot your dumb ass.
What's happening? We were in the maze together.
Well, what a coincidence. You know what they always say. Girls always stick together. With Eris's low-key connections, the girls take them all to the Right Arm campground where they meet Vince, the leader. Not the best first impression as Brenda collapses thanks to the bite from earlier. Panic overtakes Vince, who wants to put her out of her misery, but the Dr. Mary comes to stop it all.
Hello, Thomas.
You know me?
I was worried they'd kill you after what you did.
What I did?
The last time we spoke, you gave me the coordinates of every wicked compound, trial, and lab.
Oh, Mary, sweet, knowledgeable. Mary, you give me an answer. I hope you live to see the end of all of this. Turning Thomas from Brenda to Savior, Doc Mary helps Brenda recover and helps all of us in the meaning behind the cure and how it's produced. I could care less about whether this is supposed to be held off until a death cure or whatever. The ending of the Scorch Trials book cheats you of any satisfaction. You get no cure and no answers. Why side with that shuck-face disappointment when I can easily get some answers here? After getting enough of Thomas's blood, Brenda gets enough rest to talk about her brother who was taken from Wicked for their experiments. Then Thomas decides to get personal and share Chuck with her. These moments right here? Yes. This right here? You done goofed. Thomas then joins his friends, looking over the safety of their position, only to have it ruined with Teresa. Pretty much from the moment she started bringing up how Wicked is good again, it was already known her mind's been tainted. Traveling didn't stop her thoughts, and even this story about her past made the final call.
She's a beautiful woman. Everybody loved her. When she got sick, I didn't know what to do. Every night, she'd make these awful sounds, like screaming. She took her eyes out, Thomas. There are millions of people suffering out there. Millions of stories just like mine. I'm saying I want you to understand.
Understand what?
Why I did it.
Still the betrayer, much better betrayal here, and you did need telepathy to drive the message home. Wicked reaches the Right Arm base and drops hell on them. Everyone prepares themselves as the soldiers are raining down and stunning people. And even this final fight is satisfying, unlike the random blobs introduced in the book. The movie's been building up conflict between Wicked and the Right Arm. It's not like they're gonna throw in some pink cotton candy wasp last second. That would be stupid. Thomas is with Brenda and Jorge who want to leave, but Thomas just can't abandon the bromance, so he comes up with a plan to be captured like everyone else.
Why didn't you run? I'm tired of running.
Dude! You can't stop running, that's like your signature! In a matter of seconds, Ava Page arrives on the scene, rounding up all the people and showing off Teresa as the traitor. Doc Mary stands up to Ava, having a quick conversation about the morality of clinical practice.
At least my conscience is clear.
So is mine.
Alright.
No, not Mary. She had answers. Oh God, this is just like Chuck all over again. Damn it! Why do the good ones always have to go? Thomas finally has enough and pulls out Jorge's bomb and trigger. Everyone's trying to tell him to stand down and that what he's doing is idiotic, but the boys come around and back him up. And just as he's about to blow the joint, Jorge drives the truck right into the helicopter and stirs the panic. Thomas is about to be wasted by Jansen, but is saved by a sniping Brenda. The resistant comes back alive and kicking. This is what I'm talking about. This is a comeback.
Come on, Thomas, get out of here! Let's go! Get out of here, go!
No, 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 no. They already lost one bro in this movie. They can't lose another. But it's too late. The soldiers hurry in to capture Minho and take him away on Ava's ship. All Thomas could do was stare at their escape. Morning comes around and everyone is recuperating. Vince wants to continue his mission to find a new safe haven, but Thomas can't leave Minho behind. Even with everyone saying it's suicide, Thomas is standing his ground to stop Wicked, kill Ava Page, and save everyone. With Vince asking for Thomas's plan, he thinks long and hard about it until the Scorch Trials finally comes to an end. Well, this was something. This was definitely something. Very different from the book. Just about a majority of things were changed that I didn't even recognize what I read. So I'd be crazy enough not to announce the movie as the winner. I didn't choose this just to stand alone in the sea of unpopular opinions. I honestly thought this movie was better, or at least similar. Think about it. If we look at the similarities underneath the changes, it's the same story. The movie extended the book's rescuers and gave them their own time in the story. The search through the dark camp is the same as walking blindly through the flat trans. Lots of walking towards the mountain. Winston is gone in both versions. Meeting Jorge and Brenda halfway through the story. Meeting Eris's friends and others near the end. Even a smidge of that forced romance finds its way. And yeah, there were some bad similarities as well, such as bringing more questions than answers and the fact that this plot is still going from point A to point B. So I wouldn't say drastic changes, more like slight altercations. But one thing I always loved about this movie franchise is how it can actually enjoy the characters. The ones from the book are not my favorite because they're all written the same, with the exception of Chuck, who everyone loved. The movie makes me care about all of them. I actually felt sympathy for Winston's condition. The fact that they used a select number of Gladers was the right call because they mattered. Unlike Book Thomas only caring about those with a name he recognized, making him an asshole to the rest. And the action, superb as always. Just about every moment keeps you tense and on your toes. Escaping one situation leads right into another. There are the occasional breaks for exposition and introduction, but at least it's better than walking into nothing for a couple pages for a minimal surprise. And this is where I really got stuck trying to pick a winner because of these comments. The movie ruined the Death Cure, and how could they combine the two stories together? Which led me to ask social media, should a book or movie be able to stand on its own? You say the movie ruined Death Cure? I believe you. You say the Death Cure justifies book 2? No complaints. I haven't read the Death Cure, so I am in no position to say what it does with this story. But take away the Death Cure, the Maze Runner, and just focus on this book alone. Does it stand on its own with a good subplot from beginning to end? The movie, yes, but there's no closure for the book. I was so disappointed with the ending. When I was hoping for a nice resolution with some answers about the real purpose of this trial, or maybe some explanation for the last trial, all I saw was another shocking cliffhanger. Think of the Harry Potter series. The overall plot is trying to stop Voldemort, but each individual story holds up with its own crafted subplot. Chamber of Secrets. How would you feel if J.K. Rowling built up the secrets around what could be lurking or who could have opened it, but by the end, nothing was resolved and Miss Rowling basically says that you gotta read Prisoner of Azkaban to find out the rest. The Scorch Trials should have hyped me up for reading the Death Cure, not the other way around by having the Death Cure justify the Scorch Trials. With the book, I'm only looking forward to the big reveal that's being built up because the series has been holding back for 2 books now. But what do I have to look forward to in the movie? Not just to reveal the experiments, but Minho has been taken now, which gives me more incentive to watch how Thomas is going to rebel against Wicked. And yeah, this movie took some stuff from the Death Cure, but it probably wouldn't have done that if the book didn't feel like a waste of time. Let me be clear that I'm not denying the book's plot. The plot is one of the best things going for this series. I don't like Dashner's writing style, and I don't like how the characters are portrayed. The need for answers is the only thing that's keeping me interested. Yet with the movie, It's not perfect. I know it's not perfect. It's standard and generic and does steal from other sources, but in comparison to the book and which one had me more engaged, I'm 100% on board with the movie's choices. At this point, I'm more hooked to see where that plot is going. And I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I anticipated it. People already made up their minds years ago when the movie came out, but nothing can be resolved until I get around to the dev cure, which is coming pretty soon, like in January or something. I'll happily eat my words if I'm wrong. With the whole series in mind, it's probably the cherry on top, but looking at the Scorch Trials as an independent story, the movie blows it away. With that said, those are my final thoughts on the Scorch Trials, and if you don't agree, you can read the book, watch the movie, and make your own opinions. I'm Katana, and don't worry, we will settle this once and for all. Who knows? Maybe I'll prepare myself for a Death Cure review rolling around January. Wink, wink. But anyways, that's all for today, and we have one last review before the end of this year. I had you guys vote in the Battle Royale review, and it looks like we're going to be covering The Polar Express. It's going to be a fun Christmas review, and I am excited. So, with that said, I'll see you all on Christmas Day. Take care, guys. Ho, ho, ho! Hey guys, thanks again for clicking on this review. If you enjoyed it, why not click on that subscribe button for future videos and join my Facebook and Twitter pages for updates on just about anything else. Thought this movie was a Walking Dead ripoff? Well, why not check out my last review on Battle Royale, in which the Hunger Games possibly, most likely, ripped off? Got any book/movie suggestions you'd like to see one day? Just leave a comment down below and I'll be sure to check it out. I'm going to hide now, seeing as though I actually made a conscious choice to go against the status quo. Maybe I'll just change my name. You know what? Actually, I'll just change my whole profession. Forget everything I said. This is now a cooking channel, people. Watch as I give you 10 ways to make burnt toast delicious. Next video. Ciao.